In today's video, we're back on the Ranchero and I'm installing the Hydroboost that you can see behind me on the Firewall. Obviously, I am coming to you from the future, but we'll just take a quick look at it, what it's going to look like when it's done. Now you'll see at the end of the video I have a different master cylinder on there, but we address that later. But here you can see how we get this mounted to our brand new Firewall. So I've been trying to get this nut off of the Hydroboost from the Astro that I bought from Rock Auto. This is a Hydroboost from a 95 Astro van that we're putting in the Ranchero here. And I've been struggling and struggling and struggling to get this nut off of this because I need to make a new mount to make this flat, and I found a solution. So I do have this in the vise as you see it here. I did have to press out or knock out these studs, and then I've got this in the vise like this, and I did buy an 1 7/8 crowfoot to put in a 1/2 inch breaker bar. So I think that we can get this broke loose, and then we can make a new mount for the Hydroboost. I do apologize about the audio if it's not good, but we're going to see if this actually works. I've tried many different iterations of this and I have not had any success. So here we go. Well, seems to work pretty good. And once we get this off here, I'll show you why this has been such a thorn in my side. Well, this is what I've been looking for. So the reason this has been so difficult is if you look, there are some teeth on here. And once this is tightened on and we turn it to the right, it'll slide past these teeth no problem, but to get it removed is much more difficult because we're pulling against the other metal here. So I'm very happy I finally got this off, and this is not something that I've talked about on the channel, but this is something I've been doing on the side, so I'm very happy to get this taken care of. What we need to be doing is focusing on getting the Hydroboost mounted to the Firewall, and I took some measurements off of this and I made a couple templates here. This template would be what the actual boost, the Hydroboost mounts to. It would be mounted here, and then this would be on the inside of the Firewall, and we'll sandwich the Firewall between these two pieces. So what you'll notice here, these holes are a little smaller, and that's to allow those studs to be pressed in. And then this side, the holes are a little bigger, and that just allows this to slide over. And this hole is as big as it is to allow for this nut to pass through. And I just wanted to do a mock-up and make sure that everything is going to fit properly. So the next thing I'm going to do is cut these out. I want to test fit these dimensions on the Hydroboost itself, because it does have a little keyway right here, and that should help hold the orientation of the Hydroboost. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out, and then we'll see how it fits. All right, I have cut out both templates and we will see how they fit. So again, this one here has the little tang to ride this groove here. This is a smaller diameter. It should be close to the size here. We've got smaller holes here that should be good for these. It fits pretty good. What we want is something tight enough that we can press in the studs like these were. So our first check is to make sure this fits. All right, so that fits beautifully. And then this nut will go on. And then that nut will have to pass through this, and these holes will be what gets put into the firewall and allowing this to be mounted. Okay, so I am going to send these files to SendCutSend and have these made up for me. That way I don't have to cut them out with a grinder, drill the holes, and drill these bigger holes in a piece of 3/16 steel. So this is very good news, and I'm very glad that I didn't have to make several iterations. So this we can actually take to the car and try to place where we want it, keeping in mind that on the back side we need to be ready to figure out the linkage for the brake pedal. I went ahead and assembled the master cylinder to the booster, and the reason I did this is I wanted to get a measurement from the center line of this to the top of the reservoir so that we have plenty of clearance. And we are in the neighborhood of 6 inches, so I'm gonna, well, it looks like maybe 5.5 or so, but I'm going to give myself 6 inches. And really the hood is gonna be up here, but basically I just wanted to make sure that this was gonna fall. Like I got 6 inches here. From about the center line. So we're gonna clear the hood. What I'm gonna do also, I do like this location right here, but to make sure I get all the holes right where I want them, I'm going to reprint this with crosshairs in all the circles, and then we'll use a punch to mark the holes and then drill them. So that's where we're at right now. By the end of this video, I'd like to have the brake booster in place. I also want to get some mounting points done on the inside. What my plan is, I don't want any fasteners coming through the firewall. So what I plan to do is drill a hole, put some all thread through the hole, weld it, and grind it smooth. So for the gas pedal, that's going to be what we use for the mounting studs. And then on a couple of the items that are going to be mounted to the firewall, I want to get those also mounted. So here in just a second, we'll have this piece with the crosshairs, and we'll get that in there, get those holes drilled, and test fit everything. We got a couple things in the mail today, but I want to show you what we were doing while we were waiting for these items to come in. This filler piece here, and it goes to here. We got that piece obviously cut and installed, and then I got that piece capped off. And what we were waiting on, and if you remember, we were working on the brackets for this. Maybe I mentioned this before. I could have made these pieces out of the 3/16 plate that I have, but I wanted everything to be precise. It's kind of cool when companies will send you stuff like this. Obviously just some candy, and then a custom SendCutSend sticker to throw on whatever you want to throw it on. All right. Here we go. Let me take that phone call. I'll be right back. All right, back to checking these pieces out. So these are a 3/16, or I should say 0.188 thick cold rolled steel, or mild steel. I don't remember exactly, but just kind of want to check the fit here. So that looks pretty close. This piece also kind of fits my template. So for 2 checks I want to do, one, I should have made these holes small enough that we can press these in kind of like a lug nut. So let's see if I got close on that. Okay, so it actually looks like those, I should be able to get those pressed in. So I'm happy about that. And now I'm going to test fit this on the brake booster. Like a glove. Awesome. So one thing I wanted to see here is if we look at the top here, I want to make sure that this is level, so that when this is mounted, it is in the right orientation and not canted. Things are looking pretty good. If you remember, I also put this on the firewall so I can mark the centers and punch those out, and then we can mount this onto the firewall. So I think what I'm going to do now, I've got some work still to do on the filler panel on the driver's side, so I'm going to work on that. I've already got it welded. You can see where I've been working on it. I'm going to get that all cleaned up, and then we will move on to working on this. And also I got some stuff in today where we can mount the accelerator pedal. So we'll be working on that also in this video, I believe. Okay. Well, I'm gonna make some holes. I'm not a fan of drilling holes like this. What I'm gonna do here to begin with, I'm going to use a center punch, and I'm going to try to get right on the centers of each of these circles. I'm going to try to get those punched to where the drill bit, which has a little point on it, a little point here, hopefully that will give it a spot to locate and not wander. So the first step is going to be punching the centers of these, and then we'll poke some small 1/8" holes, and then we'll go for the big holes. These I'm going to use a unibit, or a step bit as some people call them. And for this one, I'm going to use this large hole saw. Now I used one similar to this for the steering column. If you need something bigger, I'll have a link in the description for this one, and then I might as well just throw that one on there too. That'll be in the previous video where we ran the steering column through the firewall. So for now, let's go ahead and punch some holes. I think I'm going to put the floor pans back in just to add some rigidity first. Okay, so I got the floor pan back in, and I wanted that in here so that as we're pushing on it, it's nice and solid. So here we go. This one is the more critical one. And the reason I say that is these are going to be oversized, and this one, the hole saw is slightly smaller than this diameter here, and it just barely clears that nut that goes on the Hydroboost. So at this time, I'll go ahead and do my pilots. Okay, no turning back. Like I said, we're going to open these up with the unibit. And one nice thing with having this already on here is I really don't have to pay attention to what the diameter is. I'm just going to take it out to that largest hole. Quite a dull bit, so we'll switch over to a 1/4 inch bit and then size it up from there. Well, I also need a 1/4 inch for the pilot on the large hole, so we'll knock this out real quick. Let's go ahead and open the mounting holes. This bit should take care of that. That 1/2 inch step doesn't really want to do much, but that's probably about where I normally use this thing. All right, time for the big hole. If this comes off, I think I'll just go ahead and take it off. I don't know where to put you for the best view, but what I can say is we gotta be real careful not to get off center. And the last time when I drilled this hole, I bent one of the pilots because one, I didn't open the pilot up enough. And then we just gotta ease into it real slow, and hopefully I don't block your view, but grab some oil. think it's safe to say those shavings are really hot. Okay, now I'm going to press in 2 bolts into the main mount because, of course, when I went to get the proper hardware, I didn't get the proper hardware. So we'll get 2 of these pressed in, and then the other 2 I'll use some miscellaneous hardware, and we'll just see how this mounts up. All right, like I said, I'm just going to do the 2 corners, caddy corner, and then we'll use standard hardware to hold it in place until I can get the right hardware. Okay, we're pressed in on this one. I'll get the other corner. I'm gonna go make sure these line up on the firewall real quick. Of course they do. So make sure the threads are clean. I'm also going to make sure this nut clears the firewall. Of course it does. Nice. Now this is temporary, so I am not going to tighten this super tight. This is 1 7/8 inches, in case you're curious. Okay, so that's not real tight, and that's fine. I just want it held up to this. I'm gonna round up some hardware, then we'll jump back to the vehicle. We'll put this in place and see what we got. All right, the moment of truth. I've been waiting a long time to do this, and hopefully everything goes well. What? No way. Okay. Ooh, don't want to go anywhere. I need to put the backer plate on. Here's what it looks like from the side. I do have to change the master cylinder and the reservoir. It's going to be a different size. But here's what the inside looks like. Obviously this is just a mock-up. I'm going to tighten the 2 quarter 20 bolts just to see how it fits up. But that is where we're at. Okay. Got that master cylinder mounted and the brake booster. We are moving on to the accelerator pedal, and what I have done is I took the drive-by-wire pedal assembly and I made a template, which you can see there, and I just transferred the holes We've got a hole right here, and then a little bit of a slotted hole right here. And you can see those on here. And I'm going to do basically the same thing that you saw on the brake booster. I'm going to use those marks, and I will punch an 1/8 inch hole through, and then I will open it, and I'll show you what I'm going to do after I get those holes through the firewall. All right, so you can see those 2 holes right there. And from the inside you can see them here. Now what I did is I made 2 of these little 1024 little studs, and what I'm going to do is thread this partially into the firewall and then weld this side and then smooth it. That way you won't see it from the side, so it'll be nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do now, I'll get these studs in place just before I weld them up, and I'll show you what that looks like. We are about ready to weld from this side. You can see we're kind of subflush a little bit down here, definitely a subflush. I might adjust this top one before we actually weld. On the inside, here you can see I put a nut on this side. That helps hold the stud flat or perpendicular to the firewall, so it should be straight. And then up here you can see I did the same thing here. So I'm going to try to adjust this, and then I'm just going to tack weld the outside, and hopefully these will hold and we can keep moving. Just wanted to show you I was true to my word. I did adjust this one in a little bit. Same down there. So now we're going to weld it up. I'm going to touch these up probably with just a 1/2 inch by 18 inch sander. We'll see kind of what that looks like. This firewall is coming back out for me to do some finalized stuff, so I'll fix that up, but this is what I was looking for, and as soon as this cools down enough, I'm going to pull those nuts off. I'm going to test fit that pedal assembly, make sure it all bolts up. All right, we have the master cylinder and the Hydroboost mounted. Let's take a look inside where the accelerator pedal is mounted and see what that looks like. There you can see the Hydroboost and those 2 marks there where we mounted the accelerator pedal. And in here you can see everything's all mounted up. Now let's take a look so if we look right here where the transmission tunnel is going to have to meet up with the firewall. You can see that pedal is over in the way. The next video I will be fixing this pedal to where it works for our application. It might not seem like we got a lot done, but getting the steering working, getting the brake booster mounted, and getting the accelerator pedal mounted really helps figure out some of the rest of the stuff for the firewall. So I want to get most of that laid out so that I can get it accounted for. Recently we've been making some pretty good progress on these videos. We got the steering, you can see all of the linkages hooked up. We've got the steering column mounted. We did end up changing out the steering wheel for a quick release style. We did get the accelerator pedal mounted. The next step on that, I'm gonna do the transmission tunnel, and then we will look into adjusting that pedal. That being said, I know we went through the effort of getting the Hydroboost installed. However, I think I'm going to switch this over to a manual brake setup, and that's something we'll discuss in a later video. So this is probably coming out, and I'll just set this on the parts shelf for another build, which I think I might have an idea of what build that'll be, but it's going to be a long time from now. So stay tuned for the next video. We're going to be making the transmission tunnel. Obviously we've got the area where the drive shaft is, but from there forward to the firewall, we're going to go ahead and get that fabricated. Who knows what'll be next? But if you're still here, I want to say thank you for watching along. And if you're at all interested in where this thing got started, check out the playlist for the Ranchero. It's an interesting story to get to hear. But if you have any questions, put those in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.